Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to give you a quick Hello World introduction to Django, which is a Python framework for writing websites and web applications in Python. So let's get started. Go ahead and open up your favorite browser, and in your favorite search engine type Django, and go ahead and go to djangoproject.com, which should be the first result, and then click Getting Started with Django. When you get here, come down to this guide for installing Django and follow these easy instructions. Make sure you have Python 3 installed. The instructions are right here. You can get Python 3 from python.org, and make sure you got a Python 3 set up on your machine. You can skip these instructions for the database, and then we'll move on to installing Django with these easy instructions. This shouldn't be difficult, and once you've got that set up, we will verify that you have everything set up correctly with this. So you're going to open up a command line. I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to use command space to get Spotlight Search, and I'm going to type in terminal, and that opens the terminal up for me. If you're on Windows, you can open up a command prompt and follow along. So we'll type Python 3 to get a Python shell running. Make sure it's a Python 3 shell, and we're going to import Django. And then we're going to print django.get underscore version and hit enter. As long as it prints out 2 point something, you're good to go. You might have a higher version than 2.1.2. It doesn't really matter, but I think right now they're on like 2.1, 2. Doesn't matter, just be on the most current version of the stable release of Django. And it should automatically update to take you to that when you click through these. So as long as it says version 2, you should be fine. Then we'll go ahead and click move on to the tutorial, or right down here, writing your first Django app. Okay guys, let's just verify one more time that we have Python 3 and Django working together correctly. So we'll come back to our terminal. If you want to learn how to master the terminal, I have a video for mastering the terminal on Mac on my YouTube channel, so go ahead and check that out if you like playing around here. I highly recommend it. It's one of the best tools you can work with when you're a software developer, especially with Python. Okay, I'm going to move to my desktop, and I am going to run this command, Python. I'm going to actually run it Python 3-m Django -- version. And it should print out the same thing that we just printed in the shell a moment ago, some version of Django that's 2.0 or higher. As long as that works, you can go ahead and we'll get started creating a project. So we'll run this command. By the way, if you're following on Windows, your commands might be slightly different, so you can access them right here. So we're going to go ahead and use this command to get started with our Django project. Django admin, start project, and then whatever the name of your project is. We'll just call it my site like they did, but you could call it something else if you want to. And as you can see, I'm on my desktop, so it creates a directory on my desktop called my site. It has then another folder called my site inside of it, and some Python files. And make sure you've got this manage py file. You can list that out in your terminal. You can go into my site and list out and make sure you're in there with managed py. Okay, we will scroll on down and run this command to start our development server. Got to make sure you're in the same directory as manage py. So then it's Python 3 manage py run server. And you'll see these warnings right here. Just go ahead and ignore those for this tutorial. If you follow this whole tutorial, they'll walk you through that. And if you come back to my YouTube channel in a little while, I will have a full tutorial that shows you everything about this. But for now, you can ignore these warnings. What's important is you want to make sure you have a development server started at your local host. So you can either copy this URL, or you can just come over to your browser and type in localhost colon whatever port number it says right here. Okay, this proves that you have Django installed and you have your Django project set up correctly and it's running on your local host. So let's move on. We're going to now create an application in our project, and if you're curious about what the difference between a project and an application is, you can read that right here. In order to start an app, we are going to run this command, and I will quit the server, the development server, with Control-C in order to run this command, and it is Python 3 manage py start app. And then it doesn't have to say polls, you can call it whatever you want. Because I'm not following this whole tutorial in this video, I'm not going to call it polls, I'm just going to call it hello. You can call it whatever you want, just don't call it Django and don't call it Python. And you should be fine. So let's call Python manage py start app hello. Make sure you use Python 3 manage py start app, and I'm going to call my app hello. You can then see, if you list out the contents of that directory, you can see that it created a directory called hello. Here's the structure of the application that it just created, and you can either cd into hello and list out the structure, or you can just come over here and open that up if you prefer to look at it this way. And this is what it's created. Okay guys, let's go ahead into our application. You can see there is a Python file called views.py, and we're going to go ahead and write our first view. And the view is going to be what is displayed in the browser when we visit the URL. I am going to open up my project in my editor. You can do that however. If you have Visual Studio Code installed, you can just use you also have to have the command line instructions set up, but I'm just going to open it up in Visual Studio Code, which is my editor of choice, and then you can see here, here's the Django project that we've created. It's just opening up this in your editor is what you want to do. How you do it is not that important, just open it up in your editor. Okay, and then we're going to come to the applications views.py Python file, which is right here. So you can see I have my application right here, and there's my views.py right here. So we need to import HTTP response from Django's HTTP module. So we'll go from django.http import HTTP response. And the first thing we want to do is create a function for that view, and we're going to call it index. Pass in request, and then what we're going to do is return HTTP response with the text that we want to show. So I'm just going to say hello world, Django here, ready to rock and roll. And so that's how we set up that first view. And let's go ahead and next we need to map the URL. So we need to create a file in our application called urls.py. Now the astute viewer will notice we already have a file called urls.py in our project, and that's a different file. And I will explain that in a more thorough tutorial, but right now we want to work with our application, so that's hello, and we want to create a file called urls.py. And in that file we're going to go ahead and write some code. We're going to import path from django.urls. And then we're going to import views from the current directory. So urls.py is in this hello directory, and views.py is also in the hello directory. So in order to access it, it's just from dot import views. And then we want to create a list called URL patterns with one item in it. And its path, and then what we want to do is give it an empty string, and then we want to say views.index, and then we want to give it a name called index. Like I said, I'll explain all of this in a more in-depth tutorial, and you can read about it right here. But I just want to rock and roll right through this real fast, just to give you guys the quickest introduction to Django. So let's move along. We were in urls.py in our application directory, but now we're going to go to the original urls.py file that was automatically generated when we created the project. So we've been in our application, and now we're going to go to urls.py in my site. And you can see this has automatically generated code in it. So a lot of these files already have a bunch of automatically generated Python code. When you run Django admin start project, or manage server .py start app, or all those commands actually generate a lot of code for you. So come into my site urls.py, and we're going to add a few things here. We need to add include as an import from URLs. So right here you want to say include comma, and then what we're going to do is add another URL into this list called URL patterns, and it was for our application that we created. Now they've called theirs polls, but we called ours hello. So ours is going to say hello and include hello.urls. What this is doing is mapping out, mapping out the URL for us. And it's hello.urls. Alright guys, so it should be hello, and that should match your application name. Alright, now that we've got this set up, we'll save all our files and run our server again. So make sure that we are inside our directory of our project, and make sure that we're at the same level as ManagePy. That is how we're going to run our development server. So Python 3 ManagePy run server, and that's going to run our development server. Once again, for this tutorial, ignore these warnings about the unapplied migrations. I'll go into more detail on that in another tutorial. Once again, it's the same URL that's displayed here, but actually to visit our code we have to add something to that URL. So if you refresh this, you'll see we get an error 404. Oh no, what happened? Well, remember we actually added an application inside of our project, so we have to now extend that URL to reach that application, and it was hello. So if you add hello to your URL, you'll see your index view printed out, and it says hello world, Django here, ready to rock and roll, which is exactly what we have told it to display in our index function. So that is a gentle introduction to Django. That is a hello world tutorial. We went really fast and we moved through and we skipped a lot of stuff, but we've got it up and running on our development server, and that was the point of this tutorial. So if you like what you saw, stick around, because Django is incredibly fun to use and it's incredibly powerful, and I'm going to put up a more detailed tutorial very soon on my YouTube channel explaining everything you need to know to master Django. I really appreciate your view. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful night.